Welcome to this week's video, and as scheduled we are departing from our usual blind tests and our constant analysing of streamers to focus on two really exciting things that has been happening to us in the last few weeks. To find out what they are, please stay tuned, all will be revealed. One of the most frequent questions we get asked, I would say, at Elite Audio is what prompts a dealer to take on a new brand or even a brand for distribution? And it's a really good question because there are so many fantastic audio brands out there, and quite honestly, making that commercial decision is not one that we take lightly. And to give you a bit of background, over the 20 odd years I've been in this business, I have come across and I guess at first hand experienced most of the audio brands either in a brand new capacity at an audio show or even as a part exchange that we've taken from clients. And the one thing that always surprises me at times is that products or brands that are allegedly very good, sometimes under close scrutiny, don't always pass the high standards that certainly we as a business would like to see. So you'll probably see we don't change brands very often, nor do we introduce new brands very often. For a new brand to make its way into our portfolio, it has to be something very special indeed. And that naturally leads me to the whole purpose of this week's video, and that is to introduce two brand new brands that we have now here at Elite Audio. And I have to say, both are excellent, both bring something completely unique to the table, and let me get into some depth to explain why. So, first of all, the brand that we have taken on recently for distribution as well as retail, and that is a French brand called Revival Audio. Let me start by a little introduction video made by themselves that will give you a little bit of insight into who they are and why they are so special.
Sound is the reflection of life. It reminds us of memorable moments. It celebrates our feelings in the present. It calms us to think and move forward.
Sound, for me, is the passion driving my everyday life. Je m'appelle Daniel Aymon. Since I was 14 when I built my first amplifiers, and a year later my first DIY speakers, my dream was always to build the best speakers in the world. Now, after 30 years of experiences designing speakers for other companies such as Altec Lansing, Focal, EliteAudioUK, I'm now proud to present that we designed one of the best speakers possible in the world, Revival Audio.
At Revival Audio, we promise you the next level listening experience. We innovate because that is the only way to bring a unique sound to you. We believe sound is a science and also an art. We don't buy off-the-shelf components, but design and engineer every detail in France for your prolonged listening. Revival Audio, from Alsace in France to the world.
I think it's fair to say there are very few loudspeaker designers out there currently that have that depth of experience that Daniel has, and it certainly comes across very clearly to me when I look at the design specification. And I first came across this brand, I came across a review in HiFi Pig that Stuart Smith had written about the Atalante 5s, and I was very taken by some of the key elements that he liked. One thing that I personally like in a loudspeaker, and using the Atalante 5 as a good example, is a 75mm soft dome mid-range driver. And the technology that Revival use, particularly in the mid-range, and let's be honest, that a lot of the, if not most of what we hear generally comes from the mid-range, is the fact they use a special coating to cover the driver, and that coating varies across the driver surface, which brings its intrinsic sound. I apologise in advance, I've got a lot of notes here, and it's only because there are so many things that I need to remember, and in the past I've done videos with no notes and got to the end and gone, don't, because I've forgotten something, and I'm not one for adding bits in. If you've watched our videos, you'll know none of it is scripted, so you could say I'm making it up as I'm going along, kind of, but it's good to have bullet points that I can then expand upon and fill in. So so Daniel himself has got over 30 years experience in this industry as an audio designer, and he has worked for some of the top brands in terms of loudspeaker manufacturing. There's lots of great reviews out there. In fact, we're just about to pick them up today, having been reviewed by Terry Ellis. I'll give you a link to his YouTube channel. But those of you that know Terry, and his video reviews are great, so I'd recommend his channel as a one to subscribe to. He loved them. Graham, our marketing manager, asked him how he got on, and Terry's reply was, I'd keep them, that's how I got on with them. And that's any reviewer that wants to keep a pair of speakers that they have personally reviewed, I think speaks volumes. So the Atalante 5s, I think, are phenomenal value for money. At the price, I don't think I've heard anything that really competes. I've got a pair at home right now, and I'll bring up some footage of those speakers in my own home environment as I'm saying this, and we've had them in there for about 6 weeks now. I did previously have a pair of Klipsch Cornwalls in there that we subsequently had sold, so it seemed a perfect opportunity for me to personally spend some time with their current flagship speaker. And as far as their roadmap is concerned, there's lots more to come higher up the range. But anyway, they are a great speaker. I'm using a Luxman 507Z with them. I love the sound. It's very clear they're doing something that other manufacturers are not. And a lot of it is to do with the technology that they have used. One of these, which is interesting, which is unique in audio design, is this basalt sandwich construction. Basalt is effectively extracted from lava, that's what it is, but they have found a very clever way to sort of make it into a fibre, and then this woven fibre is then sandwiched. So what you get is a very stiff membrane, but one that is also ultra fast. And again, it's very obvious, the bass is visceral, it's never lagging or what you call ponderous. A lot of bass on certain speakers, and this style, which I guess is really a studio monitor style of loudspeaker, I've heard some variations on this theme. The bass is very lumpy and over dominating, and what I love about the Atalante 5s in particular is this perfect tonal balance from top to bottom. The other thing that surprised me with them is that, given the very wide front aspect of the front baffle, is normally that isn't the most conducive to a holographic sound. And if you look at, say, other brands like Audiophysic from old, a lot of their original designs were this ultra narrow front baffle to give you this incredibly holographic sound staging. So surprisingly, and again a testament to the design of these speakers, they are very, very holographic, so good depth. There's a lot of scale from top to bottom that I found very obvious listening to all genres of music. They also have this called Arid Plus, which sits behind the soft dome, and again there's a lot of video that shows the construction of this, and I'll bring this up for you to see. Very clever. It helps to reduce certain aspects of distortion, and it basically means that you get this perfect tonal balance that the 75mm soft dome can bring. It's one of those things you have to hear it to understand what it does, but it's very clever. In fact, the whole Revival range is quite remarkable. When you start with the Sprint 3s, which actually sell for under £1,000, they are honestly, the first time I heard a pair in the showroom was like, how much are they? Really, genuinely, they take you by surprise. The other thing, when you get to the Atalante range, and the 5s in particular, they're a very efficient loudspeaker, so you can use lower powered valves with this particular loudspeaker, but they're great. So starting from the Sprint 3, the Sprint 4, the Atalante 3 and the Atalante 5, every single one of these I feel, in fact the Sprint 4 that I have sitting to me on my right at the moment, again, they are very like, I would say, another brand that Daniel used to work for in terms of the aesthetic, but I like this very traditional look they have, but they defy their price point. If somebody told me these were £4,000 based on performance, I honestly would not be surprised. So one thing for us at Elite Audio, and I'll also bring up, there's a dealer listing that we have for the Revival Audio speakers, so we'll put this in the in the video description below, and if you find your local dealer, you can arrange a demonstration with them, or if you prefer, you can work with us directly and we will give you a 30-day money back guarantee on all the Revival Audio speakers, because quite honestly, it's one thing demoing a loudspeaker at a hi-fi retailer showroom, and a good hi-fi retailer will have room treatment, and so that you can hear the speakers performing without any frequency mode interference from the room itself. Now, but the main thing is when you get these to your own home, things change, because you've got your own acoustics, and the way that your room reacts to the energy of the loudspeaker coming into the room may change how you heard them originally at the dealer's showroom or demonstration room. So regardless of whether you're buying from us or anybody, I would always say, do not commit to buying a loudspeaker until you have got it in your home and you're happy with it, and make sure that you work with a dealer that allows you to do the home trial, because as I say, they may not perform the way they did in the dealer's showroom, and again, it only matters how they perform in your own environment, so that part is very critical. We'll take some time looking at your room size, your positioning, and help you with the placement, and also establish the suitability of any loudspeaker for your listening environment. But personally, these are some of the best value for money loudspeakers that I have heard for a very long time. I think they've got a real heritage in terms of the audio designer, in terms of his own experience and the projects that he's previously worked on, and that definitely shows through when someone is given free hand in their own business to really express their skill. This really shows through, and they are an absolute wonder in so many respects. So one of our most highly recommended loudspeakers for a long time, and it's a privilege to work with the brand actually. As I say, we don't take on new brands on a whim. There's a lot of background investment in time, listening, and establishing the credentials of a brand before we will even consider having it in our portfolio, because ultimately, if we recommend it, then that's Elite Audio and our reputation that we're putting out there. So there we go. Incredible loudspeaker. What I'll do once Terry has got his review published, it's a video review, we'll link that in our news section, and you can then have a look through. If it's live by the time this video goes live, I'll put the link in the video description below, but I know we're just picking up these speakers from Terry today, so I think it's unlikely that's going to be published, certainly for a week or so. Anyway, the next brand I want to talk about is Musical Fidelity. Now, that is a brand that is known to most people, I think, around the world. Anthony Michelson wanted to design an amplifier which brought a great deal of warmth in terms of like a Class A sound, but also amplifier that can drive most things. Now, if you look at the heritage, and I've worked previously with Musical Fidelity before Project took them over, so it was when they were originally Anthony Michelson controlled business, and we had some remarkable products, the original New Vista series. Some of you may remember the KW series, which actually was quite an interesting product, and we had a lot of clients that we'd supplied things like KW 500s to, which had a massive power supply and a huge bank of capacitors that when you first powered it on, it would draw this current from your mains that would basically charge the capacitors ready to deliver these incredible high current values that they were infamous for. However, depending on the age of your distribution electricity in your home, you may have found that your fuse board suddenly turned the entire power of your house off. So it was not uncommon that some people found that whilst they liked the idea of the amplifier, it was simply impossible to incorporate because of this sudden current demand. And certainly I know in the showroom we had at the time, that was something we had to balance, almost turn everything else off so we could turn on the KW. So yeah, it was an interesting product, but it sounded great. That brings us on to the current incarnation of the Musical Fidelity products, and one of the amplifiers we have on demonstration currently is the brand new Vista 800.2. And again, I've made some notes on this, so apologies but in advance. But one of the things that you may recall that made the Musical Fidelity product stand out in terms of New Vista is the New Vista itself. Now, New Vista tubes were invented in the 1950s. One of the reasons they were designed was to, I guess, overcome some of the shortcomings of conventional tubes. So things like better reliability, lower microphony. So I know, and I've worked and I've seen some amplifiers that are highly, the microphony is huge. You touch the valve and you can hear the sound coming through the speakers. So one of the great things about the New Vista tubes is low microphony, ultra low noise level, but the technical performance. The other thing that they are very well known for is their consistency from batch to batch, so you don't, if you have to replace them at any time, which another thing is they last for an exceptionally long time. Matching them is not an issue. You don't have to look at having match sets of 4 and so on. Also, it was interesting that these valves were some of the most desired and sought after for studio work with high-end tape recorders, high-end studio grade microphones and so on. So interestingly, that Musical Fidelity have these in the New Vista amp, and this 800.2 special. One thing that's very important to point out is there's over €1 million been invested in the current Musical Fidelity lineup, and that really shows through. I think it is the best the brand has ever been. I think the build quality is the best it's ever been. And that's not, I'm not saying that in any way to criticize the existing or the older versions of these. In fact, there's a friend of mine, a guy called John Sampson, who he was the head engineer at Musical Fidelity, and he does a lot of upgrades on existing Musical Fidelity products in the UK. So I can highly recommend John's work. It's always done at the highest standard. The biggest issue you will have is that he's in such demand that the lead times for his upgrades are months. And that in itself is testimony to the high quality of work that he does. So John, if you're watching this video, kudos to you. You're a great guy. You do some fantastically high quality work, and I know that the work you did with past Musical Fidelity products was definitely appreciated by audiophiles and myself included. But as I said, the current incarnations definitely have really taken things to another level. Now, one of the things which I wanted to talk about is some of the aspects about the 800.2 that are improvements on the old version. So they've changed the front. You'll see the front panel design is very different. There's lots of other changes to my transformers internally to reduce things like any potential for mains interference. It's one of the quietest amplifiers I have ever heard, with over 300 watts of power. It will drive any loudspeaker system, and it's very Class A-like in its presentation. I think that's the thing that we've noticed here. The whole team at Elite Audio have been absolutely, I would say, flabbergasted is quite a strong word to use, and I don't like using those kind of descriptives without any sort of thought behind it. But genuinely, every member of our team has gone, wow, that's a great amplifier, and we've compared it to others around a similar price point. In fact, we've got in at the moment a part exchange. You can't see, it's just slightly off camera to my right, a Griffin Diablo 300, which is it's a £20,000, £30,000 integrated amplifier. And we've done an A/B comparison, and honestly, personally, I would have picked the new Vista every single time. I felt more detailed, but had a slight greater level of warmth, particularly in the mid-range. And it's just such a great looking amp. The build quality is fantastic. There's different display modes that you can see, and again, you'll find that I'll bring up the bit of B-roll that we did that shows the difference in the display modes, and there's some shots around the back of the amplifier as well. But these are a no compromise solution, and again, it really shows through. Another amplifier that we have here is the MAXI. This again is a very highly technologically advanced amplifier. It's 550 watts into 8 ohms, which again reminds me of the KW series, but it comes in at a price point that might surprise a lot of people, and I'll bring that up on the screen just now with some of the technical specification. Again, it's designed to sound like a small Class A amplifier, but with huge power, and there is just no distortion. You can put these into a very low efficient loudspeaker and drive this amp into a low efficient loudspeaker, and you will, even no matter how high you turn the volume to the point where it becomes unbearable to listen to any further, there's just no distortion. It is very clean, but it has this warmth that I know a lot of people want in their amplifier. Now, I don't mean warmth in the sense that the amplifier becomes boring or dull. It's the antithesis of that, and it's a really difficult balancing act that manufacturers have to pull off, because I've heard some amps that they achieve warmth but at the sacrifice of detail or clarity, or they go far too much the other way, so they become very clinical and dry, and the whole listening experience becomes very brittle and glass-like, and it's certainly not something that you could do for an extended period, because the listening becomes a fatiguing experience. So with my own background is musical. I'm a classically trained violinist. I played violin from the age of 5 years old. I've played in Fife School Orchestra and Fife Orchestra. It's not something I play regularly, but I also play guitar. So being a musician gives you a different perspective on music, and I know that when something sounds real, that has an impact with me emotionally. And I guess this comes me back to, why do we bring any new brands into our business? And this is a perfect example. The musical fidelity range brings, as far as I'm concerned, a musicality and a warmth, but without sacrificing detail or clarity, that I think is, I'm not saying it's unique, but there's very few amplifiers pull that trick off very easily like the musical fidelity amplifiers do. In the MAXI, again, we've done some extensive listening, and it really stands the test it really stands up to anything else that you can listen to. Another amplifier that we have here, which actually, I remember the previous incarnation of it, and I must admit I was kind of underwhelmed when it came out, and it didn't really, I don't think, meet the expectation. But anyway, we now see the reissue of the A1 pure Class A amplifier. Again, there's great reviews out there. There's a brilliant StereoNet review which basically says that this amplifier defies its price point. There's lots of new enhancements compared to the old. Again, the transformer's updated, so you get it's got better windings, so it has better power handling, better stereo imaging. Let's go into some of these bullet points that I've got here. There's the new direct switch at the preamp, which allows the gain block before the volume control to be completely bypassed, thus offering more control over the sound output. I'm not going to go through all these because there's too many here, but it's got things like dedicated subwoofer output. I know a lot of people now want that facility. I know when we featured the Ever Solo A8, or we did the sort of the pre-arrival announcement, so basically looking into what it is and what it can do, and a lot of the messages that you guys put in were about the dual analog outputs, and can you connect, first of all, can both be active at the same time? And the answer is yes, they can. In the menu system, you can have balanced only, RCA only, or balanced and RCA both live consecutively. So in theory, you can use the balanced connectors to a power amp and the RCA connectors to your subwoofer, and you could then have stereo subwoofers left and right using left and right RCA outputs. So having a dedicated subwoofer output, I think, is something that most people want. A lot of people are using stand mount loudspeakers more than ever, and the requirement for a small sub or a discrete subwoofer is higher than it ever was. Yeah, so we've been running one of these in currently, this brand new model. I think it's great value for money. It's warm, but it's engaging. It's, you know, it's a low power pure class A. It's a bit like a Sugden A21. It's in that realm of, you know, 20 to 30 watts pure class A output. But the one thing that I've found with the musical fidelity that I haven't noticed on other class A amplifiers, especially the lower powered solid state ones, is that a lot of the other solid state low power class A amplifiers run out of headroom pretty quickly, and unless you've got a very efficient loudspeaker setup, you're going to find distortion and a lot of other things you don't want to have. So this is something that's really impressed me. You can really crank this up and it keeps its cool, although that's slightly counterintuitive, because obviously being pure class A, it does run pretty hot. So it keeps its cool as far as performance is concerned, but it runs like a nice little radiator on your hi-fi rack, like all good class A amplifiers do. So this is a very brief introduction to these brands, but they are important additions to our product range, and we are really excited to be working with both of these brands. Products that I would say have our highest level of confidence will always have the Elite Audio 30-day money-back guarantee, because we know that these perform better than other brands and products of a similar price point. So for us, it makes sense to, I guess, put our money where our mouth is and give you that extended time to try out these products without any time pressure. Really got to live with these day to day. And again, coming back to what I say in all the videos we have every single week is, ignore what you read, trust what you hear. And it's such a personal thing, audio. Again, I know I refer to forums and heated debates that take place on there about which amplifier is best, which speaker is best. People look for recommendations of what they should and shouldn't buy. The difficulty is, of course, that we all have biases, and we seek bias confirmation as well, which is something that can skew what perhaps might be better for someone else. The thing I always say is, talk to an audio professional, a good business that understands how different components match with each other. You know, the other thing with a lot of hi-fi and amplifier products is that impedance matching can become an issue, and the one thing that musical fidelity amplifiers have is a very high level of compliance, meaning that you can match them with other components and you don't find you're not going to have any compressed sound or loss of dynamic range. So again, a good dealer will know about product matching and which will work in synergy with each other. So it's important that you talk to someone that can give you professional advice that's unbiased, that can listen to your preferences and tastes and then guide you down a path within your budget constraints that will give you the sound you're looking for and allow perhaps the extended listening period so that you don't make any mistakes. There's numerous, I've got numerous examples of past experiences where I've spoken to clients we haven't dealt with before who have made purchases and then discovered that ultimately they've made a mistake and they didn't have the luxury of a home trial to really, I guess, solidify that initial decision that they made to buy that in the first place. So there we go. That is, I guess, the kind of wrap up on this week's video. I know a lot of you from last week's video are asking about the A8, and we're anticipating having one physically here in the next couple of weeks. Our pre-orders are almost sold out, so if you are thinking about pre-ordering one from us, get it in, because honestly, once these pre-orders are fulfilled, I don't think we're going to see any more this year. I've been speaking to our sister company that are the UK distributor, Forever Solo, and the kind of feedback we're getting is that, yeah, this initial batch that's coming through, that will be it until probably January, maybe even February next year, and the demand is high. It's one of our most watched videos as well, the one from last week, which actually surprised me. It really did. It kind of takes me by surprise when I see the amount of views things get. And the other thing is, I want to thank everybody that took the time to write a comment. Somebody actually put a comment which I loved, I must say. It made me laugh when I read it, and I think it might have been last week's video or the one the week before, and the comment was quite simply, talked for 20 minutes and didn't say much at all. And my reply was, yeah, I'm sure my wife would 100% agree with that particular statement. So yeah, guys, hopefully you can see that I'm very passionate about what we do here. I really care about music reproduction, and it's such an important thing for us as a business that we're providing you with great advice. And we do love to talk about audio, so as I said before, why use 5 words in audio description when 20 words will do just quite nicely? So that kind of ties in with that comment. So yeah, so if you just want to phone us up and chat about audio, please do. We're here to help and assist and guide. And even if you're not buying from us and you want just another opinion on something, we're always happy to give that. Once again, I'll bring up my personal direct email address, so if you want to ask me about anything to do with your audio system, just some basic advice, it's always free. I'm more than happy, and I will reply to every single email that comes in. Again, I was coming back to thanking everybody for their comments on all the videos. We try our hardest to reply to them all. Some actually are not replyable to because there isn't a question there, but we'll like it because we appreciate, as I say, all comments are valued on our YouTube channel. So as with every week, I get to this point and it's a big favour to ask, and that is please subscribe to our channel. If you have enjoyed the series of videos that we're doing, and we've got lots in the pipeline. As I say, we've got the A8 coming out from Ever Solo, and that's going to be another blind head-to-head challenge against some of the even more expensive opposition there. We're going to have some actual reviews, so there's going to be a dedicated video to different individual products. We're going to do more head-to-heads, blind testing, DAC testing. So there's a lot we have in the pipeline. So if you are enjoying what you're watching, if you've enjoyed this week's video, and I really hope you have, please subscribe. It takes a few seconds. It actually means a huge amount to us here. As I've said many times before, we are a very small family business, and we need you and your feedback and your support to survive. It's that simple. We are a business at the end of the day, and we need external support to be here. But the one thing I also promise you is, I would say I am the most fortunate in terms of working with some of the most passionate and dedicated audio professionals that I have ever come across. Everybody in this business is someone that they should be proud of as to who they are and what they do here. It is, I think, the first time I've worked with such a team of people where the synergy within our team is the best it can be, and that really reflects on the customer service that we always strive to give. So your support is appreciated by every single person that works here, and we never I guess, take any of that for granted. So we're always striving to improve and do the best we can. So thank you so much for your support as always. So there we go. Oh, one other thing, if you haven't done so already, take a few minutes, just subscribe to our newsletter. The details of how you can do that will be in the video description, and it literally, why not just receive one, see what you think of it. If it's not for you, you can unsubscribe with one click. But in our newsletter are things that you will never see anywhere in terms of early bird offers, the first opportunity to buy a lot of our pre-loved equipment, and we have some really desirable part exchanges coming in at the moment. Please, in fact, take a look at our pre-loved section. There's some really nice things in there that are incredible value, and all our Elite Audio pre-loved devices come with a minimum of 12 months warranty, and the warranty we put on our pre-loved is as good as the new manufacturer's warranty, and that is something that is worth a great deal. Most other dealers, if you look at their pre-loved listings, you might get 3 months warranty, but we also cover things like all the shipping costs if something goes wrong. So no matter where you live, if we've supplied it to you, we will support you no matter what, and that is our commitment to all our customers. So have a great week listening to music. It is the best way to unwind after a hard week's work or a hard day's work. To me, it is the most cathartic experience, is listening to music, and that's what makes our business so very special and something we care about, because we know how important music is for you. Thank you so much for watching this week. Please look out for our video next week. It's a bit of a surprise, so stay tuned to find out what it is. That will be coming out in a week's time. And until then, take care.